Okay. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Who doesn't fast in Ramadan in the Hanbali school? Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Salatu salam ala Rasulul Kareem. Rabbana taqabbal minna zidna ilma wa hikma wa huda. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad abduka wa rasuluka nabiyul ummi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam taslima. A'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyati a'malina. Allahumma atina nufusana taqwaha wa zakkiha. Anta khairu min zakkaha anta waliyuha wa mawlaha. Allahumma hamshukana amma ba'd. All the praises belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything happens in the world by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And whatever person they wish, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wishes. وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا إِن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ. And may Allah's blessing be upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the peace be upon him. He's the example that we follow. He's our teacher, and he is the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send a salawat wa salam on Allah's final prophet and messenger. And today we're going over on the Fiqh al-Hanbaliyah by Ibn Qudamah al-Maqdisi on his explanation from who doesn't fast in Ramadan. Who is someone that doesn't fast in Ramadan, the rulings pertaining to that, inshallah. And this is from the book al-Umdah, and it continues from Imam al-Sunnah, Ahmad Ibn Hanbal in the Hanbali school. And Ahmad Ibn Hanbal, all the things he mentioned was from the hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the collection, and that's what the basis of the information is on. And so a person, what they do is they study and they learn it, and they shape themselves, they form themselves with this knowledge, and then in the future, then the person they have that knowledge, and then they can continue on with some of the modern day rulings based on the classical rulings given by our ulama of the past. Okay, would you like to read the first one, Sheikh Lisan?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. أحكام المفطرين في رمضان. Who want to break the fast on Ramadan?
Yes.
ويباح الفطر في رمضان لأربعة أقسام. أحدها المريض الذي يتضرر به.
Yes. So the first one is the people that are sick. If they are harmed by fasting, then they are allowed to not fast in Ramadan. They're allowed to skip it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that in the Quran. وَمَنْ كَانَ مِنْكُمْ مَرِيضًا, whoever of you is sick or traveling and so on. So that's the one that's mentioned there.
What does it mean to be harmed by it?
The thing is, what happens is if a person, if they feel pain, that means that they're sick if they fast. And the other thing is, some of the ulama, they say if the recovery is delayed, if a person, if they fast and then the recovery is going to take longer, then they have an excuse not to fast. And the third thing to keep in mind is also if a doctor says it's somebody that's in the profession, he tells the person that the fasting is harmful for the person. But sometimes people, they have the paranoia, and they might think that they're sick, but there's nothing wrong with them. So, and that's the third thing.
Sometimes non-Muslim doctors don't see the seriousness of fasting, so they tell a lot of people.
Yes. So, the doctor, he's a professional in the field, so he knows for sure if it's harmful for the person or not. So that's what I would say. You consult a doctor, and if the doctor says it's okay for you to fast, it doesn't affect your health, then you fast. But if the doctor says it affects your health, the fasting is going to affect your health, then you listen. Then you don't have to fast. The person that is sick, because sometimes people, if they go by themselves, and sometimes it's not accurate, and even people would say seek a second opinion and so on. But anyway, that's a different issue.
Did the doctor have to be Muslim?
No, I don't think so, because the other doctors are knowledgeable in the field, so they go by what happened in the past. So many trials that they did, or tests and things like that. They do it, and they base it on that. So what happened in the past with different things, and the same thing's going to occur again. But that's what they do, and they study that in great detail.
So والمسافر الذي له القصر, and the traveler who can shorten the salah,
yes,
doesn't have to fast.
Yes. So the same thing, when you have the leeway for shortening the salat as a traveler, then the same thing for the fasting. You have a leeway to shorten the salat. And in the Hanbali school, they say that if you're staying in a place longer than 21 salats they say, which is approximately 4 days, and the distance, they said Arba Farsakh, which comes out to be about 80 kilometers, So that's the
Wait,
one view.
it cannot be longer, the stay cannot be longer than 4 days.
Right, that's what they say. If a person they know for sure that they're going to come back before then they consider to be a traveler. But if they know for sure they're going to stay longer than that, then they're considered to be a resident. And they also have a second opinion in the Hanbali school, is what is defined as a traveler. So that's a second opinion. And many of the ulama, they would go by both views. And Sheikh Ibn Baz, for example, his upbringing was in Mecca and Medina, which they follow predominantly the Hanbali school. And so, and that's also mentioned in some of the books of the Hanbaliya. You find that they mention that also as a secondary opinion in the
What is
Hanbali
by
school.
custom called traveler?
Yes, what is defined as a traveler. And they use the term urf, is what is known as a traveler, but it's really what's defined as a traveler. If somebody's defined as a traveler or not. That's a second opinion, regardless of how long the distance is and how long the person they stay. And sometimes the ulama, they make the ruling with the person they go outside their city. And bear in mind, this is like in Mecca and Medina, where you have a city that's all the people are congregated in one location, and then everything is deserted, like that. That's what they mean. Like over here in America, you have it's not just like one city. You have many places which are together. But still, sometimes it's like that. Like over here where we are, if you go from here to Houston, there's a big span of land where there's not too many people. So you could say that also.
Okay, so فَالْفَطْرُ لَهُمَا أَفْضَلُ. It is better for them not to fast.
Yes. So what happens is there's two different opinions on what's better if a person they have the leeway to fast. One is that it's better to fast than not to fast if it's 50-50. Because what happens is when you fast in Ramadan, that's more rewarding than fasting outside of Ramadan. So that's one of the opinions. The other opinion is they base it on the hadith that Allah, He loves people to take His rukhas, His leeway, just like Allah, He loves people to stay away from the sins. And Allah made that leeway for a person when they're traveling, that they can break their fast, they don't have to fast. And if a person, they take that, that's what the hadith says, Allah, He loves a person to take his leeway. So then the choice is there. But if a person, they're traveling, then they have a choice. If they want, they can fast, and if they want, they don't have to, they can break their fast. So the Sheikh over here, he says that it's better for them to break their fast on the two opinions for traveling. Okay, so
وَعَلَيْهِمَا الْقَضَاءُ. And both of them, the sick person and the traveler, they have to make up their fast.
Yes. So the person that's sick, it explains it more later on, and the one that's traveling, it doesn't mean that they just leave the fast and that's it, but they have to make it up in the days afterwards. And some of the ulama, they say that sometimes the days are longer in the summertime, and it's harder for a person that's somewhat sick, so that they can break the fast in that time and make it up in the winter time when the days are shorter. So it's a little bit easier for them. That's what some of the ulama, that's a ruling that they would give in some of the ulama. But if a person they don't fast, then they have to make it up. Qada is the term that they use in Arabic. Qada is to make up the fast, just like in the salat. You have qada salat. Fasting also you have the qada.
فَالْفَطْرُ لَهُمَا وَعَلَيْهِمُ الْقَضَاءُ وَإِنْ صَامَا أَجْزَأْهُمَا. And if they fast, then it counts.
Yes. So these people, they have the leeway not to fast, but if they do fast, then it counts for them for the fasting, and then they don't have to make it up. So if there's a traveler, the Sheikh said that it's better for the person to break the fast, but if he does fast, then it counts for them as the fasting. Same thing for a person that's sick, that's sick or it's harmful for him to fast. If that person does fast it, then it does count for him as a fasting. That's the point. It continues on the previous
point.
point.
What about the traveler? What time does he have to become a traveler? Does he have to become a traveler in the beginning of the fast? Or can he just become a traveler at any
Yes,
time?
that's what most of the ulama they say.
Say I start traveling at Asr, can I break
Yes.
the fast?
The ulama, they say that it has to be before the time of fasting comes in.
Fajr.
That you
So
have to start
be a
fasting.
traveler in the time that Fajr comes in.
Right, yes. Then
That's
you
what
can
I've
break.
heard.
That's what the ulama, that's what I heard the ulama, they say well, that's when you begin it, when before the time of Fajr. But if you're here and you're not out of your city or you're not starting to move, then it's not a traveler yet, so you should fast that day.
What if they leave at like 8 o'clock? They're going to leave in the morning, but just not before Fajr. So they're still gonna have to fast that.
Well, before the 8 o'clock, they have to fast at that time, right?
Yeah.
So might as well finish the day, right? So that's what the ulama said. It has to be before the Fajr time, when a person is in the middle of traveling,
Yeah.
then they can break their
Many
fast.
people don't know that. But
Yes. Well, nowadays you have different rulings nowadays because back in the old days when people used to travel, it used to take even months at a time to travel. Nowadays, most places in the world is just one day with the airplane.
Mhm.
So, that's something to consider, when you start the traveling. And, there might not be any circumstance where, well, maybe there is something. Maybe they started before Fajr, like in the middle of the night or something like that, and then they can skip the day and make it up afterwards.
Okay.
It might be the case, but okay, inshallah. All right, inshallah. We're going to go by the
What
rulings in the
about
past.
when they get sick? Say the person started the fast and when they
Yes.
got sick in between.
Yes, they can break the fast in that case. Yes, I think that's coming up later on. I think.
الثاني الحائض والنفساء.
Yes.
So the one who is in the period menstruating and the one who is postnatal bleeding.
Yes.
تفطران وتقضيان.
Yes.
They don't fast and they make up the fast. وإن صامتا لم يجزئ لهما.
Yes.
If they fast, it doesn't count.
Okay, so you have the hayd. The hayd is a menstruation for the woman, and also the thing is, if she has the nifas usually the rulings are the same for the hayd. The nifas is a postnatal bleeding, and that's when the woman gives birth to a child, and then the bleeding occurs after that. And usually the ruling for the postnatal bleeding is the same as the hayd, same as the menstruation that you have in the ruling. So when she's in their menstruation, and to determine if she's on her menstruation, usually a woman, she keeps track of her cycle and the dates, and then she makes that determination. Because sometimes she has excessive bleeding, and we had another lesson on that. There's another video on that. So they can watch that in the chapter on the Tahara on what's considered to be hayd, and the other term is istihada, which is the abnormal bleeding. So this is the case if she has the hayd, the true menstruation, the true cycle, then she doesn't fast. And likewise the postnatal bleeding, and the postnatal bleeding, it's when the blood comes out. It could be a short number of time, it could be a longer number of time, and the maximum time is 40 days. And so that's in the other lesson. The person they can look at that. And then it says that she doesn't fast during those times, but she has to make up those days on the fasting. It's not like the salat. The salat, she doesn't pray the salat, she doesn't make it up. But the fasting, she doesn't fast, but she has to make it up on those days. That's the point.
Yeah,
And then,
you have one?
yes, number 8.
And if they fast, it doesn't count.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So if a woman, she is in the state of menstruation and she did fast, it doesn't count for her fast. She has to still make up that day.
Yeah, if she's menstruating in any period of the fast, it doesn't
Right,
count.
yes,
So,
it
for
does.
example, even if she starts menstruating 2 minutes before
Maghrib, that's right. Yes, I think he mentions that too later. He mentions that there. So the day doesn't count, so she has to make up that day. If a woman is damn it, so I'm going to fast anyway. I'm menstruating. It doesn't count for her.
Yeah.
She has to make up those because we have to follow the rules that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala
Right.
gave for us. So a person, they have to listen to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and go by what Allah says, not one's feelings and opinions.
Right.
And that's the thing that we do in the rules that we have. Okay, inshallah, so let's read the next one. Number 9.
الثالث الحامل والمرضع.
Yes. Rada'a or marada. Rada means suckling or breastfeeding. Marada means the one that gives the breastfeeding.
Pregnant or breastfeeding.
Yes.
إذا حافتا على أنفسهما أفطرتا وقضتا.
So you have that situation also. A woman that is pregnant, if she is afraid of her own health, then she doesn't have to fast, but she has to make up those days of fasting. And likewise, a woman that's suckling her child, breastfeeding her child, if she fears for herself, then she can not fast and make up those days afterwards. That's what the Shaykh said. But he explains it more in detail in the other points for it.
ولديهما أفطرتا وتقضتا
Yeah, did you read number 10?
Yes.
Oh, you did?
If they fear for themselves, they don't fast, they make it up.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
وَإِنْ خَافَتَا عَلَى وَلَدِيهِمَا أَفْطَرَتَا وَقَضَتَا وَأَطْعَمْتَا عَنْ كُلِّ يَوْمٍ مَكْسِينًا.
Yes, miskin.
Miskina.
Yes.
So, if they feared for their baby,
Yes.
that's why they didn't fast, and they have to make it up, and they have to feed a person. For
Right,
a day.
yes. That's in the Hanbali school, that's what they say. Because what happens is when a woman fears for herself, only herself, then she just makes up the day. She doesn't fast in Ramadan, makes it up. But if she's afraid for the child, that the child won't have the suckling, won't have the breastfeeding, then she can skip it. She's allowed to do that. But she also has to feed a poor person in addition to making it up. That's what they say in the Hanbali school.
So she
So
can
they do
feed the
both
whole
of them.
person like one meal, like how she
Yes,
eats,
yes.
right?
Yeah, usually they say sa or half a sa. That's what usually they do in when it comes to feeding. And some of the other things they say, like in the vow, they say, on the average of what you feed your families. But for the case
Sa
of
is 2 mud, right? And a mud is a handful.
a mud is four double
A mud
handfuls.
is 2 handfuls?
4 double handfuls.
A mud is 4 double handfuls, and a sa
No, I'm sorry. A mud is
2 double
I'm sorry. A mud is when you put the 2 hands together, average man,
That's a mud.
you fill it up. That's a mud, and 4 of them is a sa.
4 of them is a sa?
Yes, 4 of them. Yes, not 2 of them. 4 of them. Arba mudud, yes, that's what they have.
Okay.
And that's what they have. And then they have osak, which is 60 sa. So these are the
So this
words
sa
that
is 2 mud.
yes.
2
So nowadays, the ulama they say that a sa is a kilo of this. That's what many of the ulama they say. 1.5 kilograms. So it's easier for people to measure. So a person they can what they can do is they can give food for each day that the woman, if she fears for her child, then she can not fast in
Again, we went
Ramadan.
from a volumetric measurement to a weight measurement. When
Yes.
the density of those objects differs.
Right,
with
yes.
the rains.
Yes, you're right about that. No, but that's what the ulama they say. So the thing is, the rulings in Islam is not exactly precise. You have, they call it a deviation, or what you call standard deviation. So there's a lot of standard deviation. So that's why the ulama they say that. But you're right. It's a volume measurement. It's not a weight measurement. But the thing is, when you buy things in the store and we purchase things, nobody does the volume. They always do the measure. Very rare that they do the volume. They always do the weight.
Right.
So that's what you have. So that's why they mentioned that in the ulama, I guess, for that reason.
Okay.
Okay, inshallah. So that's number. What's that, number 11? They said, okay. So if a woman she fears for her child, then she is allowed to break her fast, but she has to make it up afterwards. Okay, and let's read the next one. Okay, then one other thing that
It's not
you gotta
that
bear
much.
in
I mean,
mind.
she gives like grain, like if she gives rice, could be like $3.
Yes, yes,
Not that much.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, usually that's what they say to make up the day and to feed somebody. You give a sa. Some of the ulama they say half a sa. So so that's the rule that they give on
But we said, the sa is 1.5 kilos. We said, yeah.
2.5. Some of them they say 1.5. So it depends on what you go by. I read both of them from some of the shiur. But kilo-ness, I'm sorry, what did I say? 2.5 kilograms?
Yeah, 1.5.
1.5 kilo.
1.5.
Kilo-ness, they say 1.5 kilograms, not 2 kilos.
That's a sa.
1.5. Yes, that's what they say. 1.5 kilograms of food.
Is it sad ayn or?
What is it?
Is it sad and ayn or sin and ayn? Like sa?
Yeah, I think.
Sa is something is like time, so sa, I think. Yeah.
Yes, it's coming up later on. You can look at the Arabic. I think one of the other points he mentions that in
الرابع العاجز عن الصيام. The feeble, the old person, like
Yes.
he's incapable.
right. Ajizu means that he's
He's
incapable,
difficult
unable
of to fast.
fast. And then he mentions, I think, in the next one.
لكبر أو مرض لا يرجى
Yeah, Barwa. It said Barwa. Yep. So what that is if a person, they're never going to recover from their sickness,
Yeah, they don't do their
then, like an older person, they become old,
yeah.
and there's no way that he's gonna be healthy enough to fast ever
Like
again.
someone with cancer or someone
Yes.
with really
Yes.
old, like, there's
Right,
some
yes,
kind of
yes.
on that.
So this is the next category that he mentions, the fourth category, the one that's permanently unable to fast. That is a person that becomes older and too weak to fast, and also a person if they get afflicted by a sickness,
Yeah.
which prevents them from fasting. It's harmful for the person to fast.
Okay.
Then that also, so that's the fourth category.
So فإنه يطعم عن كل يوم مسكينا.
Yes,
And on every day he feeds a poor person.
yes. So this person, if they feed a poor person for every day instead of fasting. وَعَلَى الَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَ فِدْيَةُ طَعَامُ مِسْكِينٍ. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the ayah of the Quran. So the person that can never fast again, if a person that can fast again, then they have to make it up. But if a person can never fast again, then they feed a poor person for every day of fasting. That's either
So I
29
think there's
or
interesting
30.
here. They feed every day for the poor person.
Yes.
They feed a poor person every day because they cannot fast ever.
Right, yes.
But everyone else has to make it up.
Yes.
The pregnant lady,
right.
the breastfeeding lady,
Right,
the
yes.
menstruating lady, the postnatal bleeding lady, the
Yes, yes.
shortener, the
Yes.
traveler, and the sick
Yes,
person.
yes.
All of them have to make it up, with the
Right.
exception that the pregnant lady that fears for her child will also have to pay the fidya and will have to do.
She has to pay, she has to feed a poor person as well.
Yeah, she has to pay the fidya, right? That's what the
Yeah,
fidya-
fidya is something else, so,
Sorry.
fidya, they use the terminology a little bit differently, so it's not fidya for it, because fidya is, fasting 2 months or feeding 60 people, that's what they
Oh,
use
is that
that
what
term.
it is?
Yeah, so you gotta be, when you use that terminology in fasting, that's what they mean by it. Because they have, that's, I think that might be coming up on page number 2. So that's what
was
they use
that
in fidya.
ayah? Like,
In the time of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, a person came, he said, I'm destroyed. That's coming up later on. And Rasulullah says, what happened? He said, I had sexual relation with my wife in the daytime in Ramadan. So Rasulullah said, I'm going to do all these
I
things.
mean, yeah, I know that fidya has I think like it has a linguistic term now, but وَعَلَى الَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَهُ فِدْيَةٌ طَعَامُ.
No, yeah, you're right.
So
That's what
that's
they
why
mean.
I was saying fidya because
Yes,
it's
yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
fidya can also mean other things, right?
Yes, yes. Yeah, I think you're right. It depends on, when you use it. But normally speaking, because they say that if, later on it's going to mention this, they say if you have sexual relation with your wife, qada wa fidya. That's what they say. So that's why I mentioned that terminology, that they mentioned that qada wa fidya. Qada means you make up that day, and the fidya means that you do the other things, So,
Okay.
but you're right. Maybe
So
this is the case here.
interesting, Sheikh, that many people seem to say that pregnant women don't
Mhm.
have to make up the fast,
Mhm.
or that breastfeeding women don't have to make up the fast.
Yes.
Many people they say this, and they quote the Hanbali school. That's not what the Hanbali school says.
No, it says you have to make it up, even if it's
Because the Hanafis, they say you have to make it up.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure the Shafi'is have to be making it up.
yes,
And I don't know about the Malikis, but they probably have you making it up too.
yes.
And
No,
everyone points to the Hanbalis and says the Hanbalis say you don't have to make it up. You
Yes.
just pay a poor person.
Right, yes. That's not what the Sheikh says over here, says they have to make it up. But
That's
anyway,
okay.
there is an opinion from that, I'm not sure if it's from the Hanbali school or a different school, but they say the woman, when she becomes pregnant, right, then that's a year, she doesn't fast, and then she's got to breastfeed her baby, that's 2 years, so it's 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years.
And then after 3 years goes by, she has another child,
Yeah,
and then what happens? Another 3 years go by, another
Yeah,
child,
yeah.
and then if she has 10 children,
yeah,
then when is the time going to come to fast?
right.
So that's why they have that opinion. Some of the people knowledge.
I mean, I agree, that's tough,
Yes, yes.
but, I mean, you can't just
Yes,
make stuff
yes.
up, I mean.
Right, yes.
It is
You gotta
what it
go by
is.
what the rules they say.
Right.
So this is what the Sheikh he says, and maybe if you check like some of the other Hanbali fiqh books, they might have more detail. Because the same author, Ibn Qudamah, he has a book called Mughni.
Yeah.
And Mughni is very, very vast. It's like almost like 10
Right.
volumes or so.
There may be some stuff in there.
Right, and he explains things more in detail, so you can look in there and see what he says more about this particular ruling,
Yeah.
about the case.
So,
But normally speaking, even if it is many years later, then she makes it up.
وعلى سائر من أفطر القضاء لا غير. So everyone, and for the rest, everyone else that breaks the fast, they just have to make it up.
Yes.
There's no one else.
Yes.
إلا من أفطر بجماع
Mm-hmm.
بجماع في الفرج فإنه يقضى ويتعتق رقبة. The other one that breaks because of sex in private, makeup and free a slave.
I think I skipped something here, looks like.
Is it?
Oh, yeah, number 15.
Yeah, the 15 says everyone else makes up the fast unless they broke the fast by basically sex. They had
Yes.
sex.
Yeah, so the number 15, what that means is that if a person, they broke their fast on purpose, not,
Sex.
then they make it up, that's what he's saying.
Right.
So if you ate something or you drank something,
Yeah.
and that broke your fast,
Yeah.
then you just make up the day. You repent and make up the day. That's what he's saying over here on number 15. That's what he's talking. That explains it more on number 16.
Yeah.
But he says here generally, what you have is sometimes you have the rule that's general, then you have an exception that's specific.
Exactly. Yeah, I know.
So he's saying this as a general rule.
Yeah,
that
the
if a
general
person-
rule is if you have the exceptions, then you don't get
Yes.
sin. And
So you have
make it up.
to make up the day, even in the exception, which is a sexual relation.
Yeah.
You still have to make up
You
the
still
day.
have to make up that
Day,
fast,
in addition to the other thing that you got to do.
and you gotta free a slave.
Oh yeah, that's number
Is it for
16.
the man and the woman, or just the man?
The ulama, they say if the woman consented to it, then she has to do it also. That's what the ulama they say.
لما أفطر جماع في الفرج فإنه يقضى ويعتق رقبة. He has to free a slave.
Yes. So if the person, if they had the sexual relation with the woman, the intercourse, sexual intercourse, then he has to make up that day because he missed a day, and
And
also
free a slave.
free a slave and the other things that's mentioned.
And free a slave, and the woman has to do that too. But interestingly, I think the Shafi'is, they say no. The woman, she doesn't have to. It's just the man. Did you know that?
Yeah, the thing is, a lot of these rulings is more than one opinion. This is in the Hanbali school.
Yeah.
No, so that's
I'm
what they say.
saying
in
it's
the Hanbali school.
interesting. Shafi'is, they say no, the woman does
Yes.
not break it. Rather, what breaks her fast is that something entered her body cavity through an orifice. But it's the man that has to do it anyway.
Yes.
But in the Hanbali school, we're saying that the man has to and the woman has to if she consented to it.
Yeah, I believe so. That's a rule in the Hanbali school.
Give a free
The
slave and
reason they say that, if you look at the hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he just told the man to do the things.
Exactly.
He didn't mention the woman at all.
That's true.
So that's why the ulama they base it on the things that happened in the time of Prophet
فإن لم
Muhammad.
يجد فصيام شهرين متتابعين.
Yes,
And if he doesn't find a slave, because you don't got any slaves,
yes,
there's no slaves, so you
Yes.
have to fast 2 months continuous.
right. Yes, he fasts
That
2 months
means if you break
consecutively.
the continuous fasting, you got to start over.
Right. Yes, that's what he says.
But what if
That's what
he
he says.
comes in between?
Yeah, that's exempted.
Okay, so
Because you
you're
have a reason
allowed
for
to
it.
make the 2 months,
Yes.
but you don't count the days of Eid.
If it's something that's beyond your control, then you can skip it. But if it's something that you do on purpose, then it starts over again, resets.
Oh,
That's
okay,
what they
so
say.
like Eid is beyond your control, right?
Right. Yes.
But, so do you count the day of Eid or no?
No, you don't count because you
don't
didn't
have
fast
to.
on the
So
day,
what,
so you skip
count
that.
29 days or 30
And,
days?
No, if you're fasting, you count the first day you start. Then you skip the day of Eid, it's not counted as a day. Then you do the rest to reach 60
Plus
days.
1 because of Eid.
Well, the Eid doesn't count at all, so it doesn't increase the number of days that you fast. Because when you do the 2 months, it doesn't start the first of the month. It starts anytime. Then you do 2 months consecutively.
I know. So what is 2 months? For example, if you do it in Dhul Hijjah, say I start first of Dhul Hijjah, I start my fasting. And then I missed because of Dhul Hijjah, I missed 4
Yes.
days of fasting.
Yes.
So do I have to make those 4 days up at the end or no?
Okay, let me tell you what the 2 months is first. Okay,
Yeah.
then I'll answer the other question.
Sure.
What happens is the other ruling is to feed 60 people.
Yeah.
So they use the term 60 explicitly.
Uh,
So then, it would mean that there is 60 days. It's
Yeah.
not necessarily 29 days and 29 days. You
Oh,
gotta
okay.
do 2 more. You gotta do that. And sometimes you'd start in the middle of the month and then, you go through. And if a person, they become sick, that's beyond their control, then they can skip those days because they have an excuse and then,
I
fast
see.
the rest after. Same thing with the
so
Eid.
what they
Eid
have to do is
comes-
they have to fast 60 days even if they got Eid in between. Or they got
Yes,
sick
and they have Eid between, they skip the Eid day for fasting, and they continue the rest to finish up the 2
فإن
months.
لم يستطع فإطعام 60.
Okay, what was your other question? You said the 4 days after.
Yeah, so if, for example, the person started Dhul Hijjah and
Yes.
after that he missed 4 days because of Eid and
Mhm.
the Ayyam al-Tashriq,
Yes.
3 days, and the Eid day 4. So then he has to still fast 60 days in total.
Yes. I think the Ayyam al-Tashriq, maybe a person is allowed to fast it. You have to double check that, if you can. Because they allow people to fast it that are on the Hajj, the Ayyam al-Tashriq, not the Eid day. But they say the people that are, يصوم 7 أيام في الحج و3 أيام في الحج و7 إلى رجعتهم. So they say that you can do the days of Tashriq if you're on the Hajj, and you got to do the 10 days. You can do the 3 days. You can do those days of Tashriq. You can't do it on the Eid day, the fast on the Eid day. So you got to see what they say on the days of Tashriq.
Yeah.
If you can skip them or not, but it's very likely that you can skip them. That's what my guess. But I have to double check to see what the official
Right.
ruling is.
Okay, so فإن لم يجد سقطت عنه.
Mhm.
So if
No,
he
the
can't-
third one is to feed 60 people if you can't fast
right,
2 months.
but if you can't even feed 60 people,
Right,
it's,
yes. And then
wrong.
it's exempted from it. We can't do any of those things.
Right, and but he still has to make up the day.
Yeah, because yes, he still has to make up the day if he does that. No?
Right.
But the first thing is to fast 2 months. But they're saying, the 60 days
Yeah.
continuously. If you
So
can't do
the
that,
first thing
then
is to pre-say you can't, so you have to fast 2 months.
right,
You
yes.
can't, how do you know you can't? You just feel like you can't?
Maybe you're sick, or that's a
No,
reason
he's not
for it.
sick.
Mhm.
The person's not sick.
Yeah, then he can fast for 2 months. Then he's got to do that too.
Well, if he's sick, he has an exemption anyway, right? Because he can just pay. Sick. But if he's sick, he can also spread it out. But I mean, what happens if he says, you know what, I'm healthy, everything's good.
Yeah, then he
But like,
fasts for 2 months
I couldn't
consecutively.
even fast Ramadan. How am I going to fast 60
Right,
days?
yes, yes.
Right.
That's what the person said in the hadith in the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
Right.
No, so they
So
mentioned that too.
then
Yeah.
what? Is that qualifying?
Yeah, I mean that
enough?
was a hadith from Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, but
Right.
to apply it in today's day, I think people won't say that you could do that. Over here, say, oh, I broke my fast in Ramadan. How am I going to fast 60 days? So I can't do it. So it's exempted from me.
Uh-huh.
People they won't accept that.
Oh, they won't accept that.
They won't. It's not
Well, the Prophet
acceptable.
sallallahu alaihi wasallam accepted it at that moment.
Yes.
For that moment.
The thing is, when you look at the what you do, some of the ulama, they say that you feed 60 people first. And if you can't do that, then you fast 2 months consecutively.
Really?
Then you can't do that, then you free a slave. And the hadith, it goes on that what happened is he didn't have any of those things. Then somebody brought a basket of dates. He gave it to him. They said, "Oh, nobody's poorer than me."
So he ate it.
Give it to your family. So you have all those things that occur, So, in that situation. So,
Alhamdulillah.
so that's
So
the problem. No, so I know what you're saying that the Prophet Muhammad did that in the hadith. But the thing is, we go by what the ulama they say, and they won't accept that as an excuse. As far as I know, they
Right.
won't accept that.
Yeah, no,
So I
I
wasn't able to
understand.
fast, so then I don't have to do the 2 months consecutively.
So
They won't find that acceptable. Maybe they'll say it's okay for you to feed 60 people instead of
this is
fasting
why we
2
need
months.
slaves.
They might say that because that's a view of the other school.
I was
The
just saying
Maliki school.
this is why we need slaves.
Need which one?
This is why we need slaves.
Slaves. Oh, okay. See.
So we can free them.
Right. Yes. Yeah, in the time of Ibn Qudamah, there were a lot of slaves present, so he mentions that so much, so many rulings pertaining to slaves. Nowadays, there's no slaves in the world. So we'll see in the future what happens, inshallah, with that. So, Allahu Alam. The thing is, whenever you look in the books of fiqh, they always talk about freeing slaves. Making people into slaves, they don't like that. But they say that's not good. Just freeing slaves. That's what they say.
Well, if we freed all of them, how are we going to free more? They're already free. Think about it.
Maybe you have prisoners, and they might. Who knows in the
Yeah,
future
exactly.
what happens? So that might be the case.
All right. So فإن جامع ولم يكفر حتى ولم يكفر حتى جامع ثانية كفارة واحدة. Oh.
Yes.
Okay, so meaning he had sex during
Mhm.
Ramadan once, and then he didn't do expiation until he had sex again. Then there's only one expiation.
Right, yes. That's very interesting in the Hanbali school, that's what they say.
Okay.
So if a person, like in Ramadan, let's say, the 5th of Ramadan, he had a sexual relation with his wife, and then on the 15th, he had a sexual relation with his wife, then he has to do the 2 months consecutively, the 60 days consecutively to fast afterwards. You know, that's what the
So
Shaykh
it doesn't
said.
add up. Like a person that had sex like 3 times is not gonna have to fast 6 months.
No, not in the
The same Ramadan because he didn't
same
make
Ramadan.
up
That's what he said.
until he made up the expiation.
Yeah, that's what it looks like it says over here. Maybe I'm reading it wrong, but I think that's what it says over here. No.
Yeah, وإن كفر ثم جمع فكفارة ثانية. Yeah, I mean if he had sex and then he made the expiation, then after that the kafara, and then he did it again, he had to get another
Yes.
kafara.
Yes, so that's like in the first Ramadan, person had sexual relation with their wife, then he made it up. Then the next Ramadan came, if he had a sexual relation with his wife again on the second, then he's got to do the 60 days again, the expiation again. That's the point there, number 20.
وكل من لزمه الإمساك في رمضان فجامع فعليه كفارة. And every person that was supposed to fast in Ramadan and stay away from sex, and then he had sex, then he has to make the pay the
Yes.
kafara.
Yes, or every person that had that.
Yeah. If the fast had to be required on them first,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or they had to restrain themselves.
Yeah,
In
so
Ramadan,
that's what it
okay?
says. So,
ومن أخر
mm-hmm.
أخر القضاء لعذر حتى أدرك رمضانا آخر
Mm-hmm.
فليس عليه غير القضاء. If one
Yes.
delays up making until the next Ramadan with an acceptable excuse, there's nothing besides making it up.
Yes.
So if he can just put it off somehow.
No, it said with an excuse.
Right, but if he's gonna put it off with an excuse, I mean, what excuse does he have? Traveling the whole time? He's sick the whole time?
Yeah, that's a good point, you know, that you have, that could, that's what the Sheikh, he said, you know, because he mentions the next point. Because what happens is in the Hanbali school, they say you have to make up the fast before the next Ramadan comes. That's the point over here. And they said that if you didn't do that and you have a reason for it, they have an excuse for it, and you're right, you know, it's very hard to find a acceptable reason for it, then you just make up the day after that Ramadan. You have to fast the next Ramadan. Then when that Ramadan finishes, then you fast the days that you missed before. And even if a person, and also then you got to read the next
Wait,
point
what does
too.
that mean? He still has to do the 60 days?
No, it's talking about missing days, you know, skipping days, not making it up immediately. Like if you're traveling,
Sounds
if you're
like
sick,
the kafara has to be paid.
menstruating.
He's delaying the kafara. Is he delaying the kafara or he's delaying the qada?
No, it's delaying the qada, the making
Oh, okay,
up
so
the
not
next.
the kafara, okay.
Yes, the
So it
qada.
has to do with delaying the qada, meaning he
Right,
should have made
yes.
it up in the same year, but
Right,
if he didn't
yes.
because he had an excuse,
Yes,
then nothing.
yes.
وإن فرط أطعمه مع القضاء
Mm-hmm.
لكل يوم مسكين.
Skina, yes. So
Oh,
what
wow.
happens is if a person, they delayed it more than
They're
a year
making
to
up.
Ramadan, then they still have to make up that day, and they have to feed a person as well. And this
Well,
is the
the
view
same
of,
thing that the Shafi'i said.
right, yes, this is a view of 3 madahib. So the
the
Hanafi school is different. Hanafi school, they won't say
Hanafis are
that.
chill.
Right, yes. The Hanafi just make it up. But the other 3 madahib, they say you have to make it up and feed a poor person, because you're negligent to make it up in time. And you're asking like what might be an excuse, maybe if the person, if they're pregnant or something like that.
Pregnant, the breastfeeding,
Right, yes. So that
pregnant
would
and
be an
breastfeeding,
that would be an excuse for them for that. No. And so what they have to do is they have to make it up afterwards, and they have to feed a poor person. And even the ulama, they say some, you know, this is a question that I mentioned before, is that a person, they said that I became baligh, and this was 24 years ago.
Allah
And
Akbar.
I didn't fast on those days, and now it's 24 years later.
Compound interest. Let's
So,
go.
so the person said no, he just said one feeding a person, not every year you gotta feed a poor person. So you have to, because if you don't make it up in the second year, it's just one feeding person. It's not 2 feeding persons. That's what it does. It doesn't add up. You know.
Oh, I thought it does.
So let's say a person, they missed like 3 days and they didn't make it up until 5 years later.
Yeah.
So then they fasted 3 days and feed 3 people. It's not,
Feed the
it doesn't
okay,
accumulate
so it's
every
not
year.
like 3 times 5, 15.
Right, yes.
Oh my God.
Yes, right, it's not
Okay.
like that. Otherwise, just keep going more and more and more if a person, they don't fast. Just,
He has only 4. He's gonna be the miskin.
Right, that's,
If there is no excuse, okay. وإن ترك القضاء حتى مات لعذر فلا شيء عليه. And if he had an excuse and that's why he delayed making up the days, with an excuse, there's nothing.
yes. And then number 25, if the person,
وإن كان لغير عذر أطعمه.
oh, okay, I'm sorry, number 25 you read?
Yes. Oh,
Okay,
there's
so,
25 times 2 for some reason.
oh, okay.
If he left the makeup days until death and he had an excuse, then there's nothing on him.
Oh, I did that, put 25 twice, I'm sorry.
وإن كان لغير عذر أطعموا عنه لكل يوم مسكينا. So if he didn't have an excuse and he died, he
Yes.
has to feed. How's he going to die when he how's he going to feed when he dies? His heirs are going
Right,
to.
yes, from his inheritance. So that's a ruling that they have. If a person, they owe days that they didn't make up in Ramadan for an excuse, if they were sick, then the inheritors, they don't make it up for fasting the days. Only in a vow. I think that he mentions that later on. They make it up for a vow, not for the days that they missed. But to feed a person, then the inheritance, they feed the person if he did it with no excuse. No, I think that's what it says here. That's the point there. I believe that's the ruling for it.
إلا أن يكون الصوم منذورا
Yes.
فإنه يصام عنه.
Yes,
So
that's
if
number.
he made a vow for
Yes.
fasting, then someone else fasts. for
Right.
him.
And the inheritors, they fulfill that vow on behalf of the deceased, but not the days that that has to make up. And I think even it says over here that even if the person, they don't fast anymore, and they have to feed a poor person, and then the person passed away, then they don't feed a poor person either, the inheritors.
If they did what?
If they were chronically sick or
Yeah, if
disabled,
they had an excuse, then nothing.
but nothing even feeding a poor person is not on the inheritors as well. But if he did it without, if he was able to fast and he left it, then they feed a poor person. They don't fast on his behalf for the
وكذلك
poor person.
لكل نذر طعام.
Yes. And then for the
طاعة.
vowing,
For every vow that is obedient.
yes, then the inheritors, they fulfill the vow on behalf of the person. Like the person, they said, I vow to fast 6 months, for example. That's extreme. When he died, then the inheritors, they can do that if they want, fulfill it on behalf of the deceased. Fast for 6 months. But the ones that he has to make up in Ramadan, if he had an excuse for not fasting them, then they don't make that up on behalf of the person. That's the case. So that's the case for the fasting. The Hajj, the people, they make it up. They say the Salat, obviously you don't make up the Salat on behalf of the deceased. But the fasting, they say that if the person, they owe days and he had an excuse to skip those days, then the inheritors, they don't make it up on behalf of the deceased. That's
But if
a
you didn't have
Hanbali
an
school.
excuse,
That's a very specific ruling in the Hanbali school. No?
So just to review. the people
Okay,
that
got one
don't-
more point, I think, number 27.
That's, I think that's it.
Oh, okay.
Well, for every vow we have to do something. So
Yes.
just to review here, we have 4 people that don't have to fast.
The
in
4 groups,
Ramadan.
right? Yes.
The sick that's traveling doesn't have to fast, and it's actually better for them not to fast. And the sick person is going to get harmed by it. And the traveler that has shortened salah, it's better for them not to fast. But if they fast, they can. And the woman that is menstruating or has postnatal bleeding, and they don't fast and they can't fast, and they make up the fast.
Right,
The
yes.
woman, the pregnant and breastfeeding woman, then they can skip the fast if they fear for themselves, and they make the fast up. If they fear for the child, they make the fast up and feed the baby.
Right,
And
good.
feed the poor people.
Right, yes. Feed a poor
And
person every
then
day.
the old person who's never going to fast, only they feed the poor people and they don't make up the fast.
Yes,
Old person or sick person that's never going to fast, they feed a poor person.
right.
And whoever breaks the fast on purpose will have to make up the fast, and that's it, except one who breaks the fast by having sex. If he has sex, then he has to free a slave. If he can't free a slave, then he has to go 2 months continuously. If you can't do the 2 months continuously of fasting, then you have to feed 60 people. If you
Yes.
can't do that, then you don't do anything. You should make up that one.
Okay.
If you had sex in one Ramadan, you make it up until the next Ramadan, or you didn't,
No, no,
you
if
had
you-
sex multiple times.
No, no,
you
it's
make
saying
up.
that if you hold a date in Ramadan,
Yeah.
and you didn't make it up until the next Ramadan.
Right, no, there's
No.
a part where
Oh,
if they
okay.
had sex
Oh, okay,
multiple
okay.
times in the same
Oh,
Ramadan
okay,
without
gotcha.
making up the actual 60 days,
Right, yes.
then they
Because,
the
you know, in the Quran it says, min qabli an tamasa, before you touch them. So, you know, even if it's like 2 Ramadans, and he didn't make the expiation, then I think that might be, a little more details. in
Yeah,
the
so
rulings.
he didn't do the kafara yet, so then he had sex multiple times, he only paid 1 kafara.
Yes.
Then if he delayed, but if he already paid the kafara and he has sex again, then he has to do the kafara again.
Yes.
But for every person, they have to restrain themselves in Ramadan from sex, and they have to do the kafara. And if
So
you
I think
do-
this point he's referring to,
women too.
like, you know, not going to the direction of having the sexual relation. There's a person, you know, if they intimate with their wife, then
Yeah.
so that's what I think.
Yeah,
That's
you
what
gotta
reason he
be
mentioned that point, that not to get oneself into extreme desire, and then it makes the person. You know, I think that's why he mentioned that point.
Makes sense. And then if one delays making up the fast until the next Ramadan, and he didn't have an excuse, he had an excuse, then he just has to make it up.
Right,
If he
yes.
didn't have an excuse, then he has to pay an extra a poor person and make it up. And
Right.
these don't stack, so it's not like every year you have to
Yes.
keep adding. It's for every fast that you were supposed to make within that year, but you delayed it, you have to add a poor person that you have to feed,
Right,
and
yes.
you have to make it up.
Yes.
And if you delayed until you died, you had an excuse, then nothing. If you
Right.
didn't have an excuse, then they pay. Your inheritors pay on
Right.
your
Yeah,
behalf.
on your behalf. Yeah.
Unless it was a vow, then they fulfill the vow.
Yes, the vow fasting is not for Ramadan fasting that you have to make up. But the thing is, the ruling on the vows, if you vow to do something that's good, then it becomes obligatory on the person to do it. Normally speaking, it's nafil, it's optional, but then if you vow to do it, it changes from optional to wajib, to a fard, you know, that you have to do it. So if it's the case where a person, they vow to do it, it becomes obligatory on the person, then the inheritors, they make up that obligation that the person they had. That's the rule. And like he said, for all other vows too. So that's what he mentioned in the last point. If a person, they vow to do something that's good, then it becomes an obligation. It changes from optional to obligatory. And the inheritors, they make up what they can on the deceased person. Okay, inshallah. So this is what the Sheikh mentioned, and this was, and the people that make the rulings nowadays, they have to go by the classical rulings in that time and come up with the rulings that you have in today's day and age, inshallah, with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, inshallah. And again, these things here, we have the rules that we got to do it. It's not, you know, haphazardly people do whatever they want. Like some people, they say, I think in Christian faith, they say when they fast, they don't eat meat for like a few weeks or
Give
something
them
like that.
whatever they want.
Right, so it's not that, you know, you can't make it up. So you got to follow the rules that are there. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَرَحْبَانِيَ الَّذِينَ ابْتَدَوْهَا مَا كَتَبْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ. The monasticism that they invented, Allah did not ordain that for people. So people, they got to go by the rules of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what Allah sent down. And that's what the Shaykh, he explained over there, the specific rules that we follow, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And people, they should learn those things and follow those things as best they can, the sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All right, inshallah. Okay, inshallah, so stop over here. So if I send anything from the ilm, then you go by it, continuation. Anything from myself, just disregard it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, and may peace and blessings be upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Sallallahu.
Sallallahu alaihi wasallam.